As long as smartphones are exempt from tariffs, will India have the sticker advantage in the US for iPhones as was previously estimated? Now, on different days and sometimes on the same day at different times, the Trump administration says different things. But as per industry body ICEA, the answer to that question is yes, India could see a 20% cost advantage over China. Now, a disclaimer, this number was reported when the assumption was that the baseline tariff will stay on all Chinese exports to the US, including smartphones. Now, export of iPhones, smartphones, tablets, laptops from India to the US will be cheaper by about 20% compared to those shipped from China following the exemptions given by the Trump administration. This as per industry body ICEA, which said this on Sunday. Now, the US government on Saturday, the previous day, amended its tariff order to exempt smartphones, tablets, laptops and some other electronic devices from the new taxes. According to ICEA Chairman Pankaj Mohindru, China still has 20% of iPhones, laptops, tablets and watches. Only reciprocal tariff has been removed for China. India, meanwhile, has zero tariff on iPhones and all smartphones, laptops and tablets exported from India to the US. Now, Vietnam also has zero tariff on all Samsung and other smartphones, laptops and tablets exported to the US. So, India and Vietnam are similarly placed on tariffs on these products and both enjoy a 20% tariff advantage over China. Now remember, Apple's iPhone ecosystem in India has become the largest job creator in the country and is one of the top exported items from India. According to ICEA, mobile phone exports from India have crossed an all-time high of 2 lakh crore rupees in 2024-25, registering a handsome 55% growth over the previous year. Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnav has also said that iPhones alone accounted for 1.5 lakh crore rupees worth of exports in the smartphone segment. Now, the reciprocal tariff regime announced by US President Donald Trump has raised serious concerns on Apple's iPhone production plan in China as well as in India. However, in a relief for that sector, the Trump administration later said they will exclude electronics like smartphones and laptops from reciprocal tariffs imposed on China as well as other countries. Now, the move can help keep prices down for popular consumer electronics goods that aren't usually made in the US. Meanwhile, IESA President Ashok Chandak said, and I quote, that continued underlying tensions and uncertainties may prompt global players to diversify their manufacturing base, creating a timely opportunity for India to emerge as a preferred alternative. Now, despite the dampening of near-term export euphoria, the long-term opportunity for India, as per Chando, remains robust. Now, he said, with the US importing over $250 billion worth of smartphones and computer goods, 30% of which currently come from China, India, with exports currently at $12 billion or so, still has a significant growth headroom. Now, as such, for Indian businesses, this is a vital window to scale up operations, he said, and reorient strategies and strengthen their positions in global electronics value chains. Now, to fully realize this potential, as per Chandak, India must double down on building long-term sustainable competitive advantages. But will the iPhone manufacturing really move to the US? And that seems to be the hope that President Donald Trump is playing this entire tariff war on electronics with. Now, that doesn't seem to be likely as per Counterpoint Research. Now, Counterpoint Research Vice President Neil Shah believes that moving manufacturing and supply chains to the US by charging higher tariffs is not practical and in turn hurts the most valuable American companies such as Apple, Nvidia and others. He said, and I quote, that bringing back the manufacturing of smartphones, especially iPhones, is going to be a marathon and not a sprint if the US government is serious about it. And it really is, if it really is serious, it could mean now is not the time and will need a very different strategy and a multi-year incentive scheme. And staying with the Apple iPhone production, we thought this Monday morning is a good day, like any other, to tell you all the numbers that you need to know about what's happening in India's smartphone industry. So I bring to you the smartphone news in numbers today. Let's begin with India's total smartphone export, and that's a number you should know. 2 lakh crore rupees is India's total exports of smartphones in FY25, the year that ended on 31st March. Now, out of this, 1.5 lakh crore rupees is India's total iPhone exports. iPhone exports are now 75% of India's total smartphone exports. So at 1.5 lakh crore rupees, that's the number. Now, Apple India's total exports, not just smartphones, not just the iPhones, but Apple India's total exports for FY25 stood at 1.89 lakh crore rupees. Now, this ensures that Apple makes as much as, and mind this number, as much as 20% of all iPhones sold in the world. 20% of those come from India. Remember, in the previous story, we told you that 30% of all US smartphones come from and iPhones come from China, but India makes 20% of all iPhones in the world. Now, Apple India's output for FY25 has grown by as much as 60%. That is the growth rate that Apple's output in India has seen. Now, Apple's China suppliers, on the contrary, are as many as 200 odd suppliers. That's the kind of supply chain and the kind of value base that China has, that Apple has in China, and shifting that to the US is going to be problematic, is what industry experts say. Now, moving on to the next number that you should know is $2.7 billion. Now, $2.7 billion is likely to be the government's new incentive for the electronics sector. Remember, this comes after the PLI scheme was reported not to get a recharge. Now, let's move to Apple iPhone's market share in India. Well, that stands at a solid 8% now. 8% is Apple iPhone's market share in India, and iPhone sales in India for the calendar year gone by, Jan to December last year, was as much as $8 billion.